One of the world's largest and oldest civilizations with a culture and lifestyle completely different than our own. Hinduism is the heartbeat of Indian culture. The tallest and most beautiful buildings are the temples that line the streets, each one of them decorated with the idols of Hindu gods. From sacred animals roaming the cities, to rivers believed to wash away your sins, all around you see the mysterious devotion to a religion that stretches back for thousands of years. At the center of Indian society is the caste system, a ranking of the people of India that is determined simply by birth. At the bottom of this system are the people known as the untouchables. They are the lowest of the low, discriminated, despised, hated, and rejected. They cannot even be touched, from fear of making others unclean and contaminated. Untouchables are consigned to the lowest jobs in society. They're victims of rape, prostitution, murder, public humiliations, beatings, and injustice. And they are given no rights because they are considered less than human. And yet, it is among the untouchables that the Spirit of God is moving. Outside the city of RAJAHMUNDRY lie the jungles of the deep forest. This is where many untouchables have fled the city to escape persecution. Yet they continue to live in poverty here. But among the untouchables living here are 32 pastors that serve throughout the deep forest. And they preach the gospel, one village at a time. Leading these pastors is the ministry provided by two brothers, Isaiah and Ananth. For the past 7 years, these two brothers have served the deep forest churches in their mission to bring the gospel to the region. They have sacrificially given their lives to see gospel transformation by digging wells, providing food and resources, and planting churches. Isaiah and Ananth have also started the Rajah Children's Home. Many of the children in the deep forest are orphaned or only have one parent. Some of them don't even know when their birthday is, and many of them don't even have a birth certificate, and they don't even exist in their own country. The strain of surviving in the poverty of the deep forest requires that these children begin to work in their rice fields, many as young as age 5. And some children are abandoned entirely because their parents cannot support them. These are the children that the Rajah home brings in, the poorest of the poor, and they clothe them and feed them and educate them and love them. And the children are taught about Jesus, and they love to sing about him. The churches of the deep forest are comprised mostly of women. Because of their conversion, many of the women are abandoned by their husbands, and they're left with absolutely nothing. Women are kicked out of their homes, and they're kicked out of their villages, and they experience tremendous abuse. And many have lost everything because they believed in Jesus. The pastors in the deep forest face unimaginable persecution and suffering. They face constant threat, and most have been beaten mercilessly while preaching the gospel. One pastor goes into villages beating a drum to gather people in order to preach to them. And one village told him they were going to beat him for every time he beats the drum, and they proceeded to do so. And one pastor lost his son, his daughter-in-law, and his grandson was beaten to death by his teacher at school. And 7 weeks later, he lost his wife to cancer. And one pastor who was 83 years old was so severely beaten, he was hospitalized for 3 months. But when he recovered, he returned to that same village preaching the gospel, and they asked him why he would even dare to come back. And he simply replied, "I have to tell you about Jesus." Isaiah and Ananth have the vision of planting 100 churches in the next 10 years. Our church's vision is to aid them in their ministry. Partnering with Children's Relief International, we seek to come alongside them and bring education and resources and finances into seeing the gospel spread throughout the region. We want to bring the love of Jesus in both word and deed, through Bibles and blankets, through teaching and training, through food and finances, and much prayer and great love. We long to enter into their suffering with them and to touch the untouchable, and to experience the joy of serving the orphan and the widow. Our vision is not to do this for the time being or just for now, or even the next few years, but for a lifetime, for generations. We desire a partnership with the Deep Forest churches that only the Spirit of God can weave together. We desire to see the children of the Rajah Children's Home grow and love Jesus more with each passing year. We desire to come back year after year to support God's mission in the Deep Forest. And we desire that generations from now they will look back and say this was the time when revival began in RAJAHMUNDRY in the Deep Forest. And as one pastor put it, he desires that the ministry of this generation would grow into a gigantic tree that offers shade and rest for the generations to come. As we think about the future of what could be done in hundreds of trips to RAJAHMUNDRY in the Deep Forest, we can't help but think about all the beautiful and colorful, ornate Hindu temples that line the city streets. Our hope and prayer is that with each passing trip, we will see these temples slowly fall into disrepair and their colors slowly fade, and ultimately, they will be abandoned and as empty as the gods they serve. Because right now, spreading throughout the region is the great story of the resurrected Son of God, Jesus Christ. And He has invited and called us into His great mission, and we invite you to come and see for yourself.